Alright, now's as good a time as any. I changed my audio again. I think I do that just about every single stream. Hopefully it's better? I tested it and it sounded okay. I just need to work on pronouncing my words properly. Speaking of pronunciation, we're gonna do something new today. So as you may or may not know, I've been shiny hunting, and so far, zero luck. I said this to my friends earlier. I might have had luck. Like, I might have had the most perfect, high quality child in the world here. But how would I know? How would I know? Because I'm not allowed to click on them. I mean, I could click on them, but it's just kind of a waste of my time because I do want to be shiny hunting these guys. Anyways, we're about 36 hours in, and you'll be able to see that right there. There it is. I tried to make it kind of semi-hidden, so it's noteworthy. I'm also not gonna update it live. I'll just update it like after each stream. But just so you know, I've been on this hunt for 36 hours. Anyways, I figured I can't stand shiny hunting just by myself. Or like without anything to do. Like, this cannot be my primary source of entertainment. And when it comes to streaming, same thing. Like, yay, I got stars. Whoops. Hey, what was I trying to say? If I'm gonna be streaming shiny hunting, I want to give you something to watch too. Or listen to. In this case, listen to. So I figured we'll read a book. And why not the book about being obsessed when I've already spent 36 hours looking for this different colored set of pixels. So we'll see how it goes. I can't say I'm a professional reader, and I can't say I know how to sailor speak. But I like reading out loud. So I might as well test it out. Let me move this a bit. Okay. This is Moby Dick, by the way. By, what's his name? Or what's their name? Herman Melville. It's Herman Melville. I'm reading this on this because it's free. But it's nice. They give like the public domain license this way because this book is old. I don't think it came out in 2001, and I definitely don't think it came out in 2006. I mean, maybe it came out in 2001. Maybe? I thought this was a pretty old book though. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have a feeling that's from, yeah, the ebook style. Regardless, it's Moby Dick or the White Whale. I'm not gonna read through those. This is terrifying. This is too many words and asterisks. We're not doing that. But we will. Oh my gosh, long book. We will start over here. Ahem. I hope it's okay to read for you as well. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but this is all new to me, so we'll do our best. Call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and nothing particular to interest me on shore, I thought I would sail about a little and see the watery part of the world. It is a way I have of driving off the spleen and regulating the circulation. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever it is a damp, drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral I meet, and especially whenever my hypos get such an upper hand of me that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off, then I account it high time to get to the sea as soon as I can. This is my substitute for pistol and ball. With a philosophical flourish, Kato throws himself upon his sword. I quietly take to the ship. There's nothing surprising in this, but if they but knew it, almost all men in their degree, some time or other, cherish very nearly the same feelings towards the ocean with me. I need to move this real quick. Ooh, I just realized everything's a mess. There we go. I think that's better. Okay. I lost my place. Hang on. Okay. There now is your insular city of the Manhattoes, belted around by wharves as Indian isles by coral reefs. Commerce surrounds it with her surf. Right and left, the streets take you waterward. Its extreme downtown is the Battery, where that noble mole is washed by the waves and cooled by the breezes, which a few hours previous were out of sight of land. Look at the crowds of water gazers there. Circumambulate the city of a dreamy Sabbath afternoon. Go from Collier's Hook to Coenties Slip, and from thence by Whitehall northward. What do you see? Posted like silent sentinels all around the town stand thousands upon thousands of mortal men fixed in ocean reveries. Some leaning against the spiles, some seated upon the pierheads, some looking over the bulwarks of ships from China, some aloft in the rigging, as if striving to get a still better seaward peep. I'm gonna move this down. Down here, I guess. I'm running in the room! I'll see if that works. Forgive me. Some high aloft in the rigging, as if striving to get a still better skyward peep. But these are all landsmen, of weekdays pent up in lath and plaster, pegged to corners, nailed to benches, clinched to desks. How then is this? Are the green fields gone? What do they hear? What do they hear? What do they hear? Also, I'm sorry, I need to fix this again. This is the wrong one. I need, not that you can tell. Yeah. This is the one that I need to be looking at. Is everything? Yes. I want to make sure I can see my screen okay, because I don't want to keep looking super far away. You don't mind. That works, okay. But look! Here come more crowds, pacing straight for the water and seemingly bound for a dive. Strange. Nothing will content them but the extremest limit of the land. Loitering under the shady lee of yonder warehouses will not suffice. No, they must get just as nigh the water as they possibly can without falling in. And there they stand, miles of them, leagues, inlanders and all. They come from lanes and alleys and streets and avenues, north, east, south, and west. Yet here they all unite. Tell me, does the magnetic virtue of the needles of the compasses of all those ships attract them thither? Once more, say you are in the country, in some highland of lakes. Take almost any path you please, and 10 to 1 it carries you down in a dale, and leaves you there, by a pool in the stream. There is magic in it. The most absent-minded of men be plunged into his deepest reveries. Stand that man on his legs, set his feet a-going, and he will infallibly lead you to water, if water there be in all that region. Should you ever be athirst in the great American desert, try this experiment. if your caravan happened to be supplied with a metaphysical professor. Yes, as everyone knows, meditation and water are wedded forever. Here is an artist. He desires to paint you, the dreamiest, shadiest, quietest, most enchanting bit of romantic landscape in all the alley of the Sako. What is the chief element he employs? There stand his trees, each with a hollow trunk, as if a hermit and a crucifix were within. And here sleeps his meadow, and there sleep his cattle, and from up yonder cottage goes a sleepy smoke. Deep into distant woodlands winds a mazy way, reaching to overlapping spurs of mountains bathed in their hillside blue. But though the picture lies thus tranced, and though this pine tree shakes down its sighs like leaves upon this shepherd's head, yet all were vain, unless the shepherd's eye were fixed upon... I lost it! Fixed upon the magic stream before him. Go visit the prairies in June, and when 80 on scores of miles you wade knee-deep among tiger lilies, what is the one charm wanting? Water. There is not a drop of water there. Or Niagara but a cataract of sand. Would you travel your 1,000 miles to see it? Why did the poor poet of Tennessee, upon suddenly receiving 2 handfuls of silver, deliberate whether to buy him a coat, which he sadly needed, or invest his money in a pedestrian trip to Rockaway Beach? Did you know that there's a parrot in this story? It's crazy, isn't it? It's like so on brand. Ray, darling, what's wrong? Baby bird? Hi. Hi. She's hiding. Not very well. She's got a really long tail, but she is trying to hide. Why is almost every robust, healthy boy with a robust, healthy soul in him, at some time or other, crazy to go to sea? Why upon your first voyage as a passenger did you feel yourself... did yourself feel such a mystical vibration when first told that you and your ship were now out of sight of land? Was that mystical vibration seasickness? Because I think I know that feeling, but I wouldn't call it mystical. Why did the old Persians hold the sea holy? Why did the Greeks give it a separate deity, an own brother of Jove? Surely all this is not without meaning, and still deeper the meaning of that story of Narcissus, who, because he could not grasp the tormenting, wild image he saw in the fountain, plunged into it and was drowned. But that same image we ourselves see in all rivers and oceans. It is the image of the ungraspable phantom of life, and this is the key to it all. I feel like because I'm reading this, there's a slim chance that I will get the shiny and I'll miss it. So I'm just gonna try not to think of that possibility. Now, when I say that I am in the habit of going to sea whenever I begin to grow hazier about the eyes and begin to be overconscious of my lungs, I do not mean to have it inferred that I ever go to sea as a passenger. For to go as a passenger, you must go as a passenger, you must needs have a purse, and a purse is but a rag unless you have something in it. Besides, passengers get seasick, grow quarrelsome, don't sleep of nights, do not enjoy themselves much as a general thing. No, I never go as a passenger, nor, though I am something of a salt, do I ever go to sea as a commandeer, or a captain, or a cook. I abandon the glory and distinction of such offices to those who like them. For my part, I abominate all honorable, respectable toils, trials, and tribulations of every kind whatsoever. It is quite as much as I can do to take care of myself, without taking care of ships, barks, bridges, schooners, and whatnot. And as for going as cook, though I confess there is considerable glory in that, a cook being a sort of officer on shipboard, yet somehow I never fancied broiling fowls. I'm going to broil you, Ray, if you squeak squawking. She's just itching herself. I think her feather's hurt. She likes to shed a lot. Yeah, you do. Oh, you guys should get a parrot. You won't mind? I'm kidding. She's beautiful. I never fancied broiling fowls, though once broiled, judiciously buttered, and judgmentically salted and peppered. Judgmeticularly? Oh, I don't know that word. There is no one who will speak more respectfully, not to say reverently, of a broiled fowl than I will. It is out of the idolatrous dotings of the old Egyptians upon broiled ibis and roasted river horse that you see the mummies of those creatures in their huge bake houses, the pyramids. By the way, I should mention, I've decided to completely and absolutely neglect Chikorita, and it's likely if I accidentally do click it and it's shiny, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm sorry, anyone who likes Chikorita. I just am going towards Cyndaquil and Totodile more. No, when I go to sea, I go as a simple sailor, right before the mast, plumb down into the forecastle, aloft there to the royal masthead. True, they rather order me about some, and make me jump from spar to spar like a grasshopper in a May meadow. And at first, this sort of thing is unpleasant enough. It touches one's sense of honor, particularly if you come out of an old, established family in the land. The Van Rensselaers, or Randolphs, or Hardy Canutes. One second. Hey, Ray. Hey. Hi, bird friend. Hello. What's going on? How are you? I'm baby. My turn? Oh, that's sweet. Oh, such a sweet bird. Oh, look at that. Wow. It's a good girl. It's okay. It's a good girl. It's okay. Yes, it is. Yes. Hello, super. Yeah, I know. Okay. Okay, baby. If not a parrot, get a spider. They're much less maintenance. Ooh! My headphone thing fell out. That's no good. It touches one's sense of honor, particularly if you come from an old established family, the people, the persons, or the others. And more than all, if just previous to putting your hand into the tar pot, you have been lording it as a country schoolmaster, making the tallest boys stand in awe of you. The transition is a keen one, I assure you. from a schoolmaster to a sailor, and requires a strong decoction of Seneca and the Stoics to enable you to grin and bear it. But even this wears off in time. The song. What of it? If some old hunks of a sea captain orders me to get a broom and sweep down the decks, what does that indignity amount to? Weighed, I mean, in the scales of the New Testament. Do you think the Do you think the archangel, do you think that one guy, Gabriel from Ultrakill, thinks anything less of me because I promptly and respectfully obey the old hunks in that particular instance? Who ain't a slave? Tell me that. Well then, however the old sea captains may order me about, however they may thump and punch me about, I have the satisfaction of knowing that it is all right, that everyone else is, one way or other, served in much the same way, either in a physical or metaphysical point of view, that is. And so the universal thump is passed round, and all hands should rub each other's shoulder blades, and be content. Again, I always go to sea as a sailor, because they make a point of paying me for my trouble, whereas they never pay passengers a single penny that I ever heard of. On the contrary, passengers themselves must pay. And there is all the difference in the world between paying and being paid. Oh, I was about to say, I don't remember adding this song. Yes, I do. It's still really cool. The act of paying is perhaps the most uncomfortable infliction that the two orchid thieves entailed upon us. But being paid, what will compare with it? The urbane activity with which a man receives money is really marvelous, considering that we so earnestly believe money to be the root of all earthly ills, and that on no account can a moneyed man enter heaven. How cheerfully we consign ourselves to perdition. Finally, I always go to sea as a sailor because of the wholesome exercise and pure air of the forecastle deck. For, as in this world, headwinds are far more prevalent than winds from astern. That is, if you never violate the Pythagorean maxim. So, for the most part, the Commodore on the quarterdeck gets his atmosphere at second hand from the sailors on the forecastle. He thinks he breathes it first, but not so. In much the same way do the commonality lead their leaders in many other things, at the same time that the leaders little suspect it. But wherefore it was, after having repeatedly smelt the sea as a merchant sailor, I should now take it into my head to go on a whaling voyage. This, the invisible police officer of the faith, who has the constant surveillance of me and secretly dogs me and influences me in some unaccountable way, he can better answer than anyone else, and doubtless my going on this whaling voyage formed part of the grand program of Providence that was drawn up a long time ago. It came in as a sort of brief interlude and solo between more extensive performances. I take it that this part of the bill may have run something like this. Grand contested election for the presidency of the United States. Whaling voyage by one Ishmael. Bloody battle in Afghanistan. Though I cannot tell why it was exactly those stage managers, the Fates, put me down for this shabby part of a whaling voyage, when others were set down for magnificent parts in high tragedies, and short and easy parts in genteel comedies, and jolly parts in farces. Though I cannot tell why this was exactly, yet now I recall all the circumstances. Think I can see a little into the springs and motives which, being cunningly presented to me under various disguises, induced me to set about performing the part that I did. Besides cajoling me into the delusion that it was a choice resulting from my own unbiased free will and discriminating judgment. Chief among these motives was the overwhelming idea of the great whale himself. Such a pretentious and mysterious monster roused all of my curiosity. Then the wild and distant seas where he rolled his island bulk. The undeliverable, nameless perils of the whale. These, with all the attending marvels of 1,000 Patagonian sights and sounds, helped to sway me to my wish. With other men, perhaps, such things would not have been inducements. But as for me, I am tormented with an everlasting itch for things remote. I love to sail forbidden seas and land on barbarous coasts. Not ignoring what is good, I am quick to perceive in horror and could still be social with it. Would they let me? Since it is but well to be on friendly terms with all the inmates of the place one lodges in. By reason of these things, then, the whaling voyage was welcome. The great floodgates of the wonder world swung open, and in the wild conceits that swayed me to my purpose, two and two there floated into my inmost soul. Endless percussions of the whale, and midmost of them all, one grand hooded phantom, like a snow hill in the air. Chapter 2, the carpet bag! Ugh, my nose is so sniffly. I'm sorry. I stuffed a shirt or two into my old carpet bag, tucked it under my arm, and started for Cape Horn and the Pacific. Quitting the good city of Old Manhattan, I duly arrived in New Bedford. It was a Saturday night in December. Much was I disappointed upon learning that the little packet for Nantucket had already sailed, and that no way of reaching that place would offer till the following Monday. As most young candidates for the pains and penalties of whaling stop at this same New Bedford, thence to embark on their voyage, it may as well be related that I, for one, had no idea of doing so. For my mind was made up to sail in no other than a Nantucket craft, because there was a fine, boisterous something about everything connected with that famous old island, which amazingly pleased me. Besides, though, New Bedford has of late been gradually monopolizing the business of whaling, and though in this matter poor old Nantucket is now much behind her, yet Nantucket was her great original, the tire of this Carthage. You're here? You were cooking? Hello! How are you doing? Look, you're an egg now. I'm sorry, I changed up the stream avatars, I mean. Now you can hatch into something magnificent. I might just add your original form back in soon. But not right now. We're reading. How are you? What'd you cook? Have you ever read Moby Dick? It's got a bad word in it, but I promise it's actually, I don't know much about it yet. Let me see. Nantucket was her great original, the tire of this Carthage, the place where the first dead American whale was stranded. Where else but from Nantucket did those aboriginal whalemen, the red man, first sally in canoes to give chase to the Leviathan? And where, but from Nantucket too, did that first adventurous little sloop put forth, partly laden with imported cobblestones? So goes the story, to throw out whales, in order to discover when they were nigh enough to risk a harpoon from the bowsprit's. You've never read it, but it's a classic? It's old enough that I can read it for free and share it with you. Oh, another contester on the list was Dracula, but I feel like I would struggle even more with that one. Again, I don't know sailor speak, so this is new, but I also don't know like ancient vampirian tongue. But it was a contester. Maybe I'll do this again sometime too. But I just need my shiny. I just need my Pokemon. Now, having a night, a day, and still another night following before me in New Bedford, ere I could embark for my destined port, it became a matter of concernment where I was to eat and sleep meanwhile. It was a very dubious looking, nay, a very dark and dismal night, bitingly cold and cheerless. I knew no one in that place. You made hot wings and mac and cheese? I love hot wings. It's been so long since I had any. In about, let me see, in about an hour and 40 minutes, I'm gonna go eat sushi. But until then, I just have to look for Pokemon. That's all I have to do. This is it. I also need to do laundry, and I need to clean my bird cage, and a few other chores, but I think I'll just do that after dinner. I knew no one in the place. With anxious grapnels, I had sounded my pocket and only brought up a few pieces of silver. So wherever you go, Ishmael, I said to myself, as I stood in the middle of a dreary street, shouldering my bag and comparing the gloom towards the north with the darkness towards the south. Wherever, in your wisdom, you may conclude to lodge for the night, my dear Ishmael, be sure to inquire the price, and don't be too particular. With halting steps, I paced the streets and passed the sign of the Crossed Harpoons, but it looked too expensive and jolly there. Further on, from the bright red windows of the Swordfish Inn, there came such fervent rays that it seemed to have melted the packed snow and ice from before the house, for everywhere else the congealed frost lay 10 inches thick in a hard asphaltic pavement, rather wary for me when I struck my foot against the flinty projections, because from hard, remorseless service the soles of my boots were in a most miserable plight. Too expensive and jolly, again I thought, pausing one moment to watch the broad glare in the street and hear the sounds of the tinkling glasses within. But go on, Ishmael, said I at last. Don't you hear? Get away from before the door. Your patched boots are stopping the way. So on I went. I now, by instinct, followed the streets that took me waterward, for there, doubtless, were the cheapest, if not the cheeriest, inns. Such dreary streets, blocks of blackness, not houses, on either hand, and here and there a candle, like a candle moving about in a tomb. At this hour of the night, of the last day of the week, that quarter of the town proved all but deserted. But presently, I came to a smoky light proceeding from a low, wide building, the door of which stood invitingly open. It had a careless look, as if it were meant for the uses of the public. So, entering, the first thing I did was to stumble over an ash box in the porch. Ha! I thought ha! As the flying particles almost choked me. Are these ashes from that destroyed city, Gomorrah? But the Crossed Harpoons and the Swordfish? Then, this, must needs be the sign of the trap. However, I picked myself up and, hearing a loud voice within, pushed on and opened a second interior door. It seemed the great black parliament sitting in Tophet? 100 black faces turned around in their rows to peer, and beyond, a black angel of doom was beating a book in pulpit. I feel bad. was a Negro church, and the preacher's text was about the blackness of darkness and the weeping and wailing of teeth gnashing there. Ah, Ishmael, muttered I, backing out. Wretched entertainment at the sign of the trap. It was a church? A low, wide building with an open door. Interesting. Moving on, I at last came to a dim sort of light not far from the docks, and heard a forlorn creaking in the air, and looking up, saw a swinging sign over the door with white painting on it, faintly representing a tall, straight jet of misty spray, and these words underneath: the Spouter Inn, Peter Coffin. Coffin? Spouter? Rather ominous on that particular connection, I thought. Thought I. Does she ever think, or does she only ever thought I? Also, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. They have a purse, but they also refer to people as just man, which is just a speak. I do it too sometimes. I just can't tell. Whoever this is, they have 2 shirts and they're afraid of black churches. And they run away to the ocean whenever they want to. I lost my space again. But it is a common name in Nantucket, they say, and I suppose this Peter here is an emigrant from there, as the light looked so dim and the place, for the time, looked quiet enough, and the dilapidated little wooden house itself looked as if it might have been carted here from the ruins of some burnt district. And as the swinging sign had a poverty-stricken sort of creak to it, I thought that here was the very spot for cheap lodgings and the best of peat coffee. It was a clear sort of place, a gable-ended old house, one side palsied, as it were, and leaning over sadly. It stood on a sharp, bleak corner, where that tempestuous wind Euroclydon kept up a worse howling than it ever did about poor Paul's tossed craft. Meridon. Nevertheless, it is a mighty pleasant zephyr to anyone indoors, with his feet on the hob quietly toasting for bed. In judging of that tempestuous wind called European, says an old writer, of whose works I possess the only copy extant. It maketh a marvellous difference, whether thou lookest out at it from a glass window, where the frost is all on the outside, or whether thou observest it from that sashless window, where the frost is on both sides, and of which the white death is the only glazier. True enough, thought I, as this passage occurred in my mind. Old black letter, thou reasonest well. Yes, these eyes are windows, and this body of mine is the house. What a pity they didn't stop up the chinks and the crannies, though, and thrust in a little lint here and there. But it is too late to make any improvements now. The universe is finished, the copestone is on, and the chips were carted off 1,000,000 years ago. Poor Lazarus there, chattering his teeth against the curbstone for his pillow, and shaking off his tatters with his shiverings. He might plug up both ears with rags, and put a corn cob in his mouth, and yet that would not keep out the tempestuous Euroclydon. Euroclydon, says old Dives in his red silken wrapper. He had a redder one afterwards. Pooh! What a fine frosty night! How Orion glistens! What northern lights! Let them talk of their oriental summer climes, of everlasting conservatories. Give me the privilege of making my own summer with my own coals. But what thinks Lazarus? Can he warm his blue hands by holding them up to the grand northern lights? Would not Lazarus rather be in Sumatra than here? Would he not far rather Would he not far rather lay him down lengthwise along the line of the equator? Yeah, ye gods, go down to the fiery pit itself in order to keep out this frost. Now that Lazarus should lie stranded there on the curbstone before the door dives, this was more wonderful than that an iceberg should be moored to one of the Moluccas? He dives himself. He too lives like a czar in an ice palace made of frozen sighs. And being a president of a temperance society, he only drinks the tepid tears of orphans. But no more of this blubbering now. We're going a-whaling, and there is plenty of that yet to come. Let us scrape the ice from our frosted feet and see what sort of a place this spouter may be. Oh my gosh, she is Ishmael, they are the spouter. Never stop talking. The spouter in Chapter 3, we made it. Everything's wrong. Hang on, there we go. No, there. Wait, there. Goodness me. How we doing? Is everyone following along? My tongue feels tied. Yeah, everything's good there. My ear is... One second. Yes. My ear needs popped, or it is popped. I never figured out the wording for that. Is it that your ear feels popped when it feels kind of like plugged up? Or is it... I lost it. Never mind. Anyways, Chapter 3. Wow, a spouter in? That's crazy. It sounds like... I don't know. It sounds like water. Entering that gable-ended spoutering, you found yourself in a wide, low, straggling entry with old-fashioned wainscot, reminding one of the bulwarks of some condemned old craft. On one side hung a very large oil painting, so thoroughly besmoked, and every way defaced, that, in the unequal crosslights by which you view it, it was only by diligent study and a series of systematic visits to it and careful inquiry of the neighbors that you could in any way arrive at an understanding of its purpose. Such unaccountable masses of shades and shadows that, at first, you almost thought some ambitious young artist in the time of the New England hags had endeavored to delineate chaos bewitched. But by dint of much and earnest contemplation and oft-repeated ponderings, and especially by throwing open the little window towards the back of the entry, you at last come to the conclusion that such an idea, however wild, may not be altogether unwarranted. But what puzzled and confounded you was a long, limber, pretentious black mass of something hovering in the center of the picture, over 3 blue, dim, perpendicular lines, floating in a nameless yeast. A boggy, soggy, squitchy picture, truly enough to drive a nervous man distracted. Yet there was a sort of indefinite, high-attained, unimaginable sublimity about it that barely froze you to it, till you involuntarily took an oath with yourself to find out what that marvelous painting meant. Ever and anon, a bright, but alas, deceptive idea would dart through you. It's the Black Sea and a midnight gale. It's the unnatural combat of the 4 primal elements. It's a blast heat. It's a Hyperborean winter scene. It's the breaking up of the icebound stream of time. But at last, these fancies yielded to that one pretentious something in the picture's midst. That, once found out, and all the rest were plain. But stop. Does it not bear a faint resemblance to a gigantic fish? Even the great Leviathan himself. In fact, this artist designed seemed this, a final theory of my own, partially based upon the exaggerated opinions of many aged persons with which I conversed upon the subject. The picture represents a Cape Horner in a great hurricane, the half-founded ship welting there with its 3 dismantled masts alone visible, and an exasperated whale purposing to spring cleaning over the craft, and it is in the enormous act of impaling himself upon the 3 mastheads. The opposite wall of this entry was hung all over with a heathenish array of monstrous clubs and spears. Some were thickly set with glistening teeth resembling ivory saws. Others were tufted with knots of human hair, and one was sickle-shaped, with a vast handle sweeping round like the segment made in the new mown grass by a long-armed mower. Sweeping round like the segment made in the new... I read it again. How dare I? This is a failure. I'm kidding. You shuddered as you gazed, and wondered what monstrous cannibal and savage could have ever gone at death harvesting with such a hacking, horrifying implement. Mixed with these were rusty old whaling lances and harpoons, all broken and deformed. Some were storied weapons. With this once long lance, now wildly elbowed, 50 years ago did Nathan Swain kill 15 whales between a sunrise and a sunset. And that harpoon, so like a corkscrew now, was flung in Javan seas and run away with by a whale, years afterwards slain off the Cape of Blanco. The original iron entered nigh the tail, and, like a restless needle sojourning in the body of a man, traveled full 40 feet, and at last was found embedded in the hump. Crossing this dusky entry, and on through yon low arched way, cut through in what old times must have been a great central chimney with fireplaces all round, you enter the public room. A still duskier place this is, with such low ponderous beams above, and such old wrinkled planks beneath, that you would almost fancy you trod some old craft's cockpits, especially of such a howling night, when this corner-anchored old ark rocked so furiously. On one side stood a long, low shelf-like table, covered with cracked glass cases, filled with dusty rarities gathered from this wide world's remotest nooks. Projecting from the further angle of the room stands a dark-looking den, the bar, a rude attempt at a right whale's head. Be that how it may, there stands a vast arched bone of the whale's jaw, so wide, a couch? Coach? A couch or a coach? Something might almost drive beneath it. Within are the shabby shelves ranged round with old decanters, bottles, flasks, and in those jaws of swift destruction, like another cursed Jonah, by name which indeed they called him, bustles a little withered old man, who, for their money, dearly sells the sailors deliriums and death. Abominable are the tumblers into which he pours his poison, though true cylinders within the villainous green goggling glasses deceitfully tapered downwards to a cheating bottom. Parallel meridians rudely pecked into the glass surround these footpads goblets, Fill to this mark, and your charge is but a penny. To this, a penny more, and so on, to the full glass, the Cape Horn measure, which you may gulp down for a shilling. Upon entering the place, I found a number of young seamen gathered about a table, examining by a dim light divers specimens of Skyrim shaders. I sought the landlord, and telling him I desired to be accommodated with a room, received for answer that his house was full, not a bed unoccupied. But avast, he added, tapping his forehead, you hain't no objections to sharing a harpooner's blanket, have ye? I suppose you are going away a link, so you'd better get used to that sort of thing. Do you like my accent? I felt like it was really like kind of southerny, Midwest, northern, western, like a little bit of, you know, like that's kind of what I'm yeah, I don't know. Also, welcome. We have so many eggs now. Soon they'll all hatch. I can't wait to see everybody's eggs hatch into something. See? Holy moly, this is the most eggs I've ever seen on screen at one time. It's like a whole baker's dozen, so we can make cookies soon. I told him that I never liked to sleep two in a bed. That if I should ever do so, it would depend upon who the harpooner may be, and that if he, the landlord, really had no other place for me, and the harpooner was not decidedly objectionable, why, rather than wander further about a strange town and on so a bitter night, I would put up with a half of any decent man's blanket. What kind of cookies? Whale cookies! I thought so. Alright, take a seat. Supper? You want supper? Supper will be ready directly. I sat down on an old wooden settle, carved all over like a bench on the battery. At one end, a ruminating tar was still further adorning it with his jackknife, stooping over and diligently working away at the space between his legs. He was trying his hand at a ship under full sail, but he didn't make much headway, I thought. At last, some 4 or 5 of us were summoned to our meal in an adjoining room. Oops, there we go. It was as cold as Iceland, no fire at all, and the landlord said he couldn't afford it. Nothing but the 2 dismal tallow candles each, in a winding sheet. We were fain to button up our monkey jackets, and hold to our lips cups of scalding tea with our half-frozen fingers. But the fare was of the most substantial kind, not only meat and potatoes, but dumplings. Good heavens, dumplings for supper! One young fellow in a green box coat addressed himself to these dumplings in a most direful manner. "My boy," said the landlord, "you'll have the nightmare to a dead Sartainty? Landlord," I whispered, "that ain't the harpooner, is it?" "Oh no," said he, looking a sort of diabolically funny. "The harpooner is a dark complexioned chap. He never eats dumplings, he don't. He eats nothing but steaks, and he likes 'em rare." "The devil he does," says I. "Where is that harpooner? Is he here?" "He'll be here afore long," was the answer. I could not help it, but I began to feel suspicious of this dark-complexioned harpooner. At any rate, I made up my mind that if it did so turned out that we should sleep together, he must undress and get into bed before I did. What the matter? Excuse me, sir, excuse me. Hey, yeah, that man with a raw steak in his mouth. Hey, If we are to sleep together, please completely undress yourself and go warm up the blankets before I dare enter the covers. I'm sorry, did I miss something? I'm starting to think maybe this character isn't a girl. Then again, girls can't be sailors. What was I thinking? The egg is floating. It's got something with wings inside of it. It's 'cause here, I'll show ya. It's 'cause you guys could usually sit on the vines like this and climb up the vines on this version of it. But due to the new thing here, there just isn't there isn't those things to sit on top of. Here, which one's actually no, yeah. I'll probably fix it up again another time, but for now it's good, it's good. There. Doo-doo-doo. I lost my place again. Oh, now I can't see chat. Everything's wrong! There. Oh, I found a plugin! There! You can close. Oh, hang on. I got a lot of tabs open. I do not need Steam open right now. Okay, there we go. Yeah, men undressing. Okay, supper over, the company went back to the bar room when, knowing not what else to do with myself, I resolved to spend the rest of the evening as a looker-on. Presentedly, a rioting noise was heard without. Starting up, the landlord cried, "That's the Grampus's crew! I seed her imported in the offing this morning. A 3 years voyage and a full ship. Hurrah, boys! Now we'll have the latest news from the Figgies." A trampling of sea boots was heard in the entry. The door was flung open and enrolled a wild set of mariners enough, enveloped in their shaggy watch coats, and with their heads muffled in woolen comforters, all bedarned and ragged, their beards stiff with icicles. They seemed an eruption of bears from Labrador. They had just landed from their boat, and this was the first house they entered. No wonder, then, that they made such a straight wake for the whale's mouth, the bar, when the wrinkled old Jonah, their obfuscating, soon poured them out brimmers all around. One complained of a bad cold in his head, upon which Jonah mixed him a pitch-like potion of gin and molasses, which he swore was a sovereign cure for all colds and catarrhs. With the lover, never mind of how long-standing, or whether caught off the coast of Labrador, or on the weather side of a nice island. The liquor soon mounted in their heads, as it generally does, even with the errantest stoppers newly landed from sea, and they soon began capering about most obstreperously. I obstrepered, however, that one of them held somewhat aloof, and though he seemed desirous not to spoil the hilarity of his shipmates by his own sober face, yet, upon the whole, he refrained from making as much noise as the rest. This man interested me at once, and since the sea gods had ordained that he should soon become my shipmate, though but a sleeping partner one, so as far as this narrative is concerned, I will here venture upon a little description of him. He stood full 6 feet in height, with noble shoulders, and a chest like a cofferdam. I have seldom seen such brawn in a man. His face was deeply brown and burnt, making his white teeth dazzling by the contrast, while in the deep shadows of his eyes floated some reminiscences that did not seem to give him much joy. His voice at once announced that he was a southerner, And from his fine stature, I thought that he might want to. I thought that he might be one of those tall mountaineers from the Alleghanian Ridge in Virginia. When the revelry of his companions had mounted to its height, this man slipped away unobserved, and I saw no more of him till he became my comrade on the sea. In a few minutes, however, he was missed by his shipmates, and being, it seems, for some reason, a huge favorite with them, they raised a cry of "Bulkington! Bulkington! Where's Bulkington?" and darted out of the house in pursuit of him. It was now about 9 o'clock, and the room seemingly supernaturally quiet after these orgies. I began to congratulate myself upon a little plan that had occurred to me just previous to the entrance of the seamen. No man prefers to sleep two in a bed. In fact, you would be a good deal rather not to sleep with your own brother. I don't know how it is, but people like to be private when they are sleeping. And when it comes to sleeping with an unknown stranger, in a strange inn, in a strange town, and that stranger is a harpooner, then your objections indefinitely multiply. Nor was there any earthly reason why I, as a sailor, should sleep two in a bed. More than anyone else. More than anybody else, for sailors no more sleep two in a bed at sea than bachelor kings do ashore. To be sure that they all sleep together in one apartment, but you have your own hammock and cover yourself with your own blanket and sleep in your own skin. The more I pondered over this harpooner, the more I abominated the thought of sleeping with him. It was fair to presume that, being a harpooner, his linen or woolen, as the case might be, would not be of the tidiest, certainly none of the finest. I began to twitch all over. Besides, it was getting late, and my decent harpooner ought to be home and going bedwards. Suppose now he should tumble in upon me at midnight. How could I tell from what vile hole he had been coming? Landlord, I've changed my mind about the harpooner. I shan't sleep with him. I'll try the bench here. Just as you please. I'm sorry I can't spare ye a tablecloth for a mattress, and it's a bit plaguey rough board here. Feeling of the knots and the notches. But wait a bit, Scrimshander. I've got a carpenter's plane there in the bar. Wait, I say, and I'll make ye snug enough. So saying, he had procured the plane, and with his old silk handkerchief, first dusting the bench, vigorously set to planing away at my bed, the while grinning. He grinned like an ape. The shavings flew right and left, till at last the plain iron came bump against an indestructible knot. The landlord was near spraining his wrist, and I told him for heaven's sake to quit. The bed was soft enough to suit me, and I didn't know how all the planing in the world could make eider down of a pine plank. So, gathering up the shavings with another grin, and throwing them into the great stove in the middle of the room, he went about his business and left me in a brown study. I now took the measure of the bench and found that it was a foot too short, but that could be mended with a chair. But it was a foot too narrow, and the other bench in the room was about 4 inches higher than the planed one, so there was no yoking them. I then placed the first bench lengthwise along the only clear space against the wall, leaving a little interval between for my back to settle down in. But I soon found that there came such a dread of cold air over me from under the sill of the window that this plan would never do at all, especially as another current from the rickety door met the one from the window, and both together formed a series of small whirlwinds in the immediate vicinity of the spot where I had thought to spend the night. The devil fetch that harpooner, I thought. But stop, couldn't I steal a march on him, bolt his door inside, and jump into his bed, not to be wakened by the most violent knockings? It seemed no bad idea, but upon second thoughts I dismissed it. For who could tell but what the next morning, so soon as I popped out of the room, the harpooner might be standing in the entry all ready to knock me down. Still looking round me again and seeing no possible chance of spending a sufferable night unless in some other person's bed, I began to think that after all, I might be cherishing unwanted prejudices against this unknown harpooner. Thinks I, I'll wait a while. He must be dropping in before long. I'll have a good look at him then, and perhaps we may be jolly good bedfellows after all. There's no telling. But though the other boarders kept coming in by 1s, 2s, and 3s, and going to bed, yet no sign of my harpooner. Landlord, said I, what sort of chap is he? Does he always keep such late hours? It was now hard upon 12 o'clock. The landlord chuckled again, with his lean chuckle, and seemed to be mightily tickled at something beyond my comprehension. No, he answered, generally he's an early bird. Early to bed and early to rise. Yes, he's the bird what catches the worm. But tonight he went out a-peddling, you see, and I don't see what on earth keeps him so long. Unless, maybe, he can't sell his head. Can't sell his head? What sort of a bamboozling... Excuse me. Can't sell his head? What sort of a bamboozling story is this you are telling me? Getting into a towering rage. Do you pretend to say, landlord, that this harpooner is actually engaged on this blessed Saturday night, or rather Sunday morning, in peddling his head around this town? That's precisely it, said the landlord. And I told him he couldn't sell it here. The market's overstocked. With what? Shouted I. With heads, to be sure. There ain't too many heads in the world? Ain't there too many heads in the world? I tell you what it is, landlord, I said quite calmly. You better stop spinning that yarn to me. I'm not green. May it be, taking out a stick and whittling a toothpick. But I rather guess you'll be done brown if that harpooner hears you a slander in his head. I'll break it for him, said I, now flying into a passion again at this unaccountable farrago of the landlord's. It's broke already, he said. Broke, said I. Broke? Do you mean? Certain. And that's the reason he can't sell it, I guess. Landlord, said I, going up to him as cool as Mount Hecla in a snowstorm. Landlord, stop whittling. You and I must understand one another, and that too, without delay. I come to your house and want a bed. You tell me that you can only give me half one. That the other half belongs to a certain harpooner, and about this harpooner, whom I have not yet seen, you persist in telling me the most mystifying and exasperating stories, tending to beget me in an uncomfortable feeling towards the man whom you designed for my bedfellow, a sort of connotation, landlord, which is an intimate and confidential one in the highest degree. I now demand of you to speak out and tell me who and what this harpooner is, and whether I shall be in all respects safe to spend the night with him. And in the first place, you will be so good as to unsay that story about selling his head, which, if true, I take to be good evidence that this harpooner is stark mad, and have no idea of sleeping with a madman. And you, sir, landlord, you, sir, by trying to induce me to do so knowingly, would thereby render yourself liable to a criminal prosecution. Wall, said the landlord, fetching a long breath. That's a purty long sermon for a chap that rips in a little now and then. That rips a little now and then. That rips? Like rips ass? Did we fart? But be easy, be easy. This here harpooner I have been telling you of has just arrived from the South Seas, where he bought up a lot of bombed New Zealand heads. Great curios, you know. And he sold... Uh-oh! I don't want chikorita. And he sold all on him but one, and that one he's trying to sell tonight. Because tomorrow's Sunday, and it would not do to be selling human heads about the streets when folks is going to churches. He wanted to do last Sunday, but I stopped him just as he was going out the door with 4 heads strung on a string for all the earth, like a string of Indians. Oof. This account cleared up the otherwise unaccountable mystery and showed that the landlord, after all, had no idea of fooling me. But at the same time, what could I think of a harpooner who stayed out of a Saturday night clean into the Holy Sabbath, engaged in such a cannibal business as selling the heads of dead idolaters? Depend on it, landlord, that harpooner is a dangerous man. He pays regular, was the rejoinder. But come, it's getting dreadfully late, and you had better be turning flukes. It's a nice bed. Sal and me slept in that air bed the night we were spliced. There's plenty of room for two to kick about in that bed. It's an almighty big bed, that. Why, afore we give it up, Sal used to put our Sam and little Johnny in the foot of it. But I got a dream, sprawling about one night, and somehow Sam got pitched on the floor and came near breaking his arm. After that, Sal said it wouldn't do. Come along here, I'll give you a glim in a jiffy. So saying, he lighted a candle and held it towards me, offering to lead the way. But I stood, irresolute, when looking at a clock in the corner. He exclaimed, I boom? I vacuum, it's Sunday. You won't see that harpooner tonight. He's come to anchor somewhere. Come along then. Do come, won't you come? I considered the matter a moment. And then upstairs we went, and I was ushered into a small room, cold as a clam and furnished, sure enough, with a prodigious bed. Almost big enough indeed for any 4 harpooners to sleep abreast. There, said the landlord, placing the candle on a crazy old sea chest that did double duty as a washstand and center table. There, make yourself comfortable now, and good night to ye. I turned round from eyeing the bed, but he had disappeared. Holding back the counterpane, I stooped over the bed. Though none of the most elegant, it stood the scrutiny tolerably well. I then glanced round the room, and besides the bedstead and center table, could see no other furniture belonging to the place, but a rude shelf, the 4 walls, and a papered fireboard representing a man striking a whale. Of things not properly belonging to the room, there was a hammock lashed up and thrown upon the floor in another corner. Also, a large seaman's bag containing the harpooner's wardrobe, no doubt in lieu of a land trunk. Likewise, there was a parcel of outlandish fish bone hooks on the shelf over the fireplace, and a tall harpoon standing at the head of the bed. But what is this on the chest? I took it up and held it close to the light and felt it and smelt it and tried every way possible to arrive at some satisfactory conclusion concerning it. I can compare it to nothing but a large doormat, ornamented at the edges with little tinkling tags, something like the stained porcelain. It's something like a large doormat, ornamented at the edges with little tinkling tags, something like the stained porcupine quills round an Indian moccasin. There was a hole, or slit, in the middle of this mat, as you see the same in South American ponchos. But could it be possible that any sober harpooner would get into a doormat and parade the streets of any Christian town in that sort of guise? Put it on to try it, and it weighed me down like a hamper, being uncommonly shaggy and thick, and I thought it a little damp, as though this mysterious harpooner had been wearing it of a rainy day. I went up to a bit of glass stuck against the wall, and I never saw such a sight in my life. I tore myself out of it in such a hurry that I gave myself a kink in the neck. I sat down on the side of the bed and commenced thinking about this head-peddling harpooner and his doormat. After thinking some time on the bedside, I got up and took off my monkey jacket and stood in the middle of the room thinking. And then I took off my coat and thought a little more in my shirt sleeves. But beginning to feel very cold now, half undressed as I was, and remembering what the landlord said about the harpooners not coming home at all that night, it being so very late, I made no more ado but jumped out of my pantaloons and boots, and then, blowing out the light, tumbled into bed, and condemned myself to the care of Evan. Whether that mattress was stuffed with corn cobs or broken crockery, there is no telling, but I rolled about a good deal and could not sleep for a long time. At last, I slid off into a light doze, and had pretty nearly made a good offing towards the land of Nod, when I heard a heavy footfall in the passage, and saw a glimmer of light come into the room from under the door. Lord save me, thinks I, that must be the harpooner, the infernal head peddler. But I lay perfectly still, and resolved to not say a word till spoken to, holding a light in one hand and the identical New Zealand head in the other. The stranger entered the room, and without looking towards the bed, placed his candle a good way off from me, on the floor in one corner, and then began working away at the knotted cords of the large bag I before spoke of as being in the room. I was all eagerness to see his face, but he kept it averted for some time while employed in unlacing the bag's mouth. This accomplished, however, he turned round, when, good heavens, what a sight! Such a face! It was of a dark purplish yellow color, here and there struck all over with large blackish looking squares. Yes, it's just as I thought. He's a terrible bedfellow. He's been in a fight, got dreadfully cut, and here he is, just from the surgeon. But at that moment he chanced to turn his face so towards the light that I plainly saw there could not be sticking plasters at all. Those black squares on his cheeks. There were stains of some sort or other. At first, I knew not what to make of this, but soon an inkling of truth occurred to me. I remembered a story of a white man, a whaleman too, who, falling amongst the cannibals, had been tattooed by them. I concluded that this harpooner, in the course of his distant voyages, must have met with a similar adventure. And what is it, thought I, after all? It is only his outside. A man can be honest in any sort of skin. But then, what to make of his unearthly complexion? That part of it, lying around it, and completely independent of the squares of tattooing. To be sure, it might be nothing but a good coat of tropical tanning, but I never heard of a hot sun's tanning a white man into a purplish yellow one. However, I had never been in the South Seas, and perhaps the sun there produced these extraordinary effects upon the skin. Now, while all these ideas were passing through me like lightning, this harpooner never noticed me at all. But after some difficulty, having opened his bag, he commenced fumbling in it, and presently pulled out some sort of a tomahawk, and a sealskin wallet with a hair on it. Placing these on the old chest in the middle of the room, he then took the New Zealand head, a ghastly thing enough, and crammed it down into the bag. He now took off his hat, a new beaver hat, when I came nigh singing out with fresh surprise. There was no hair on his head, none to speak of at least, nothing but a small scalp knot twisted up on his forehead. What the heck is a scalp knot? His bald purplish... What the heck is a scalp knot? That sounds so concerning. What the heck? Okay, hang on a minute. His bald purplish head now looked for all the world like a mildewed skull. Had not the stranger stood between me and the door, I would have bolted out of it quicker than I have ever bolted a dinner. Even as it was, I thought something of slipping out the window, but it was the second floor back. I am no coward, but what to make of this head-peddling purple rascal altogether past my comprehension. Ignorance is the parent of fear, and being completely nonplussed, and confounded about the stranger, I confessed that I was now as much afraid of him as if it was the devil himself who had thus broken into my room at the dead of night. In fact, I was so afraid of him that I was not game enough just then to address him and demand a satisfactory answer concerning what seemed inexplicable in him. Meanwhile, he continued the business of addressing, and at last showed his chest and arms. As I live, these covered parts of him were checkered with the same squares as his face. His back, too, was all over with the same dark squares. He seemed to have been in a 30 years' war, and just escaped from it with a sticking plaster shirt. Still more, his very legs were marked, as if a parcel of green frogs were running up the trunks of young palms. It was now quite plain that he must be some abominable savage or other shipped abroad of a whaleman in the South Seas, and so landed in this Christian country. I quaked to think of it. A peddler of heads, too! Perhaps the heads of his own brothers. He might take a fancy to mine. Heavens, look at that tomahawk! But there was no time for shuddering, for now the savage went about something that completely fascinated my attention and convinced me that he must indeed be a heathen. Going to his heavy grego, or rollpal, or dreadnought, which he had previously hung on a chair, he fumbled in the pocket and produced at length a curious little deformed image with a hunch on its back, exactly the color of a 3 days old conkle baby. Remembering the embalmed head, I at first almost thought that this black mannequin was a real baby preserved in some similar manner. But seeing that it was seeing that it was not at all limber and that it glistened a good deal like polished ebony, I concluded that this might be nothing but a wooden idol, which indeed it proved to be. For now the savage goes up to the empty fireplace and, removing the papered fireboard, sets up this little hunched back image, like a tent pin between the andirons. These chimney jambs and all the bricks inside were very sooty, so that I thought this fireplace made a very appropriate little shrine or chapel for his Congo idol. Oops. I now screwed my eyes hard towards the half-hidden image, feeling but ill at ease meantime, to see what was next to follow. First, he takes about a double handful of shavings out of his grego pocket and places them carefully before the idol, then laying a bit of ship biscuit on top and applying the flame from the lamp, he kindled the shavings into a sacrificial blaze. Presentedly, after many hasty snatches into the fire, and still hastier withdrawals of his finger, whereby he seemed to be scorching them badly, he at last succeeded in drawing out the biscuit, then blowing off the heat and ashes a little. He made a polite offer of it to the little... I don't like the wording in this one. The little devil did not seem to fancy such dry sort of fare at all. He never moved his lips. All these strange little antics were accompanied by a still stranger guttural noise. Oh my gosh. Okay. All of these strange antics were accommodated by still stranger guttural noises from the devotee, who seemed to be praying in a sing-song, or else singing some pagan psalmody or other, during which his face twitched about in the most unnatural manner. At last, extinguishing the fire, he took the idol up very unceremoniously and bagged it again in his grego pocket. What the heck is that, by the way? As carelessly as if he were a sportsman bagging a dead woodcock. Oh my gosh. I should have brought a water. Oh man. All these queer proceedings increased my uncomfortableness, and seeing him now exhibiting a Prego is a pasta sauce? No, it's called pesto. You're just an egg. You don't know how the world works yet. By the way, so I think underneath my stream you can see the stream avatars, like, module? How many points do you have yet? Are you able to see, if you don't mind my asking? I'm curious on how much you've saved up in, because we've been live for about an hour 30. My guess is like 200 points? Loyalty points? Not the loyalty points, no. It's like underneath the stream there's that stream avatars thingamabob. I think it's just like a yellow, or excuse me, a white S and a purple A for the icon for it. That's where you can customize your character that appears on stream. I think I mentioned it a few times, but I'm very... oh my gosh, never mind. I'll just check for you. Thank you so much, I appreciate it. You've got... here, let me just throw you over there. You've got 30. 30 currency? Really? I think I made... all the... I think I made all the... all the purchasables like 500? Maybe? It'll probably be a while before people start changing, changing things. But hey, if you see a star, you can exclamation point jump to try and catch the star, and that's like 50 points. Think about it. That's money right there. She did it! She did it! The boomer is unbooming! Oh man. Oh. Okay, I think we can probably finish this chapter, but I'll have to run after that. All these queer proceedings increased my uncomfortableness, and seeing him now exhibiting strong symptoms of concluding his business operations and jumping into bed with me, I thought it was high time, now or never, before the light was put out, to break the spell in which I had been so long bound. But the interval I spent in deliberating what to say was a fatal one. Taking up his tomahawk from the table, he examined the head of it for an instant, and then holding it to the light, with his mouth at the handle, he puffed out great clouds of tobacco smoke. The next moment, the light was extinguished, and this wild cannibal, tomahawk between his teeth, swang into bed with me. I sang out. I could not help it now, and giving a sudden grunt of astonishment, he began feeling me. Stammering out something, I knew not what, I rolled away from him against the wall, and then conjured him, whoever or whatever he might be, to keep quiet and to let me get up and light the lamp again. But his guttural responses satisfied me at once that he but ill comprehended my meaning. "Who the devil are you?" he said at last. You know, speaky? Damn me, I'd kill you? And so saying, the lighted tomahawk began flourishing about me in the dark. "Landlord, for God's sake! Peter! Coffin!" shouted I. "Landlord, watch! Coffin! Angels, save me! Speak e! Tell me who e be, or damn me, I kill ye!" I don't understand. Again growled the cannibal, with his horrid flourishings of the tomahawk scattered the hot tobacco ashes about me, till I thought my linen would catch on fire. Oh my gosh, she got the stars! She did it! She's got like 70 points now! Wait, can we get a 3 cheers for the loser? 3 whole cheers! But thank heaven, at that moment the landlord came into the room, light in hand, and leaping from the bed, I ran up to him. Don't be afraid now, said he, grinning again. Queequeg? Here, wouldn't harm a hair of your head. Stop your grinning, shouted I. And why didn't you tell me that the infernal harpooner was a cannibal? I thought you knew it. No, I thought you knowed it. Didn't I tell ye that he was peddling heads around town? But turn flukes again and go to sleep. Quick, look here. You sabi me. You say me? I say... See. You say be me. I say be. You this man sleepy you. You say be? Me be plenty. Grunted Queequeg, puffing away at his pipe and sitting up in bed. You get in, he said, motioning to me with his tomahawk and throwing the clothes to one side. He really did this in not only a civil, but a really kind and charitable way. I stood looking at him a moment. For all his tattooings, he was on the whole a clean and homely looking cannibal. What's all this fuss I've been making about? I thought to myself. Thought I to myself. The man's a human being just as I am. He has as much reason to fear me as I have to be afraid of him. Better sleep with a sober cannibal than a drunken Christian. Landlord, said I. Tell him to stash his tomahawk there, or pipe, or whatever you call it, and tell him to stop smoking, in short, and I will turn in with him. But I don't fancy having a man smoking in bed with me. It's dangerous. Besides, I ain't insured. This being told to Queequeg, he at once complied, and again politely motioned me to get into bed, rolling over to one side, as much to say, I won't touch a leg at you. Good night, landlord, I said. You may go. I turned in and never slept better in my life. Chapter 4, the counterpane, will have to be next time. Let's get this one last... Here. This one last... thingamabob. Oh, here we go. Top. There. Final one. We'll leave a chickarita this time. Nothing. Chapter 4. Yeah, we actually finished the book. Who cares about there being like 98 chapters? Psh, we did it. We read it all. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, indeed. That is all. There's no more. That's all. This stinks! Okay, so we can add 2 hours to the hunt timer. 2 whole hours. Yep. Well, I'm interested in the book so far. It's from a different time, and I find it exceedingly difficult to read that, both in pronunciations and content. But when it comes to books, they're like, I've heard it referred to as like a time capsule before, where like everything that ever was and ever is regarding the author is captured in the book, and it would be more than a shame to, how to say, wait 1 second, I'm gonna test some things real quick. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, yeah, that is exactly what that is. Okay, anyways, it'd be a shame to alter the words due to that being just an absolute time capsule with everything in it just archived and saved. It's really cool that these books are able to be considered public domain at this point. I find that very fascinating. 100%? No! 2%. It's quite troublesome to be 3%. That's what my phone's at. Actually, I don't know. Nah, my phone's at 20 so wait. 23%! I knew there was a 3 in there! I'd probably like to do this again sometime. I mean, it's been 38 hours of just this, and then a little bit of this, and then we wait, because it's a white screen, and then after the white screen comes a black screen. Yay! Game Freak, we love them. And then it goes to the title screen, and then you wait a second because you have to pick your save file. And then after the save file, we go in, we do like a little dance, we do a luck dance. Did you ever have any luck dances for Pokemon? Or like luck rituals, I guess? I would like squeeze the sides of my 3DS when I was, or well, of my DS in the games when I was younger, trying to like convince the Pokemon to let me capture it. What is the average time for a shiny? Well, average time is hard to determine, but the shiny odds back in this game were still 1 in 8,192. So it's almost an, how do I say this? It's almost an 8,000. It's almost a 1 in 8,200 chance every time I do this to get a shiny. You can sort of consider that my odds are somewhat increased based. Hang on, this song's kind of loud for me. I don't think it's as loud for you, so I won't mess with it a lot though. Anyways, it's somewhat increased because I'm looking for both of these guys instead. I think here. Yeah, we'll put this up. There you go. These are the shiny starters. So they're pretty subtle, I would say. But I'm not really going for Chikorita. I'm nothing really against it, but I'm just going for the others. So in terms of Cyndaquil and Totodile, Totodile's pretty obvious. Totodile's just pretty obvious. But those blue spikes are the primary look. Yeah, they are kind of antique looking, especially those two. And then Cyndaquil, of course, it's just that red color. So it'll be pretty clear when one of them's there. Grass type avoided as always. I'll have you know, in Scarlet and Violet, I picked the grass one. 'Cause it was a cat. If grass were pretty looking, then I'd pick them. Okay. I want Totodile because Totodile was my Totodile was straight up my very first Pokemon. Because Heart Gold was my first Pokemon game. But this one in specifics, I kind of want to give the Pokemon a better chance that doesn't have, you know, a child training it. And then Cyndaquil, I've always liked fire types, and I've got a few stories with Typhlosion, so I figure either of them will treat me well. Another reason that I'm just kind of not after Chikorita, despite the lack of like an emotional attachment towards it, is also because my brain is turning off at this point. Is because I want to try raising up a Victory Bell, and I don't want to have double grass types in my party. Double fire types I'll make exceptions for, but double grass types, I just don't want to go around that. So we're just gonna go for the two of them. And because I've been chattering so long, we'll go for one more. But after that, I gotta bounce. Like a bouncy ball. Alright, we see the grass, or the sky, and then we see the title screen, and then we see a black screen. Bounce like an egg. Lotion is important. It is important. I skip it more often than not. But I have some good lemon smelling ones. Okay. A regular little alligator. And a regular little fire guy. Cyndaquil. Is he supposed to be like a porcupine? Must be, yeah. She's got like an anteater face. It's strange. Anyways, thank you all so much for joining. I had a blast. I hope you did too. I mean, if you didn't have a blast, I'd be very concerned why you're still listening, but like, you do you. I mean, I've been shiny hunting for a whale of a time. Shut up. I've been shiny hunting for 48 hours, so I get it. Sometimes we just do things consistently that we hate. It happens. I get it. I wish it was easier, but it's not. So, yippee. Yeah, I mean, not to like, not to like, put a damper on it, but I don't know if I'm gonna finish this book on stream. It's very long, but we'll definitely keep reading it. Just not right now. I'm tired. Okay, I'm gonna go get ready for sushi. Until then, drink your water, use your lotion, and remember to be suspicious of cannibals, I think. Wait, no. Remember not to be suspicious of cannibals. That is the lesson that we learned in the book so far. Okay, thank you. Bye. I need to fix my audio. I think I keep cutting out. Bye.